Welcome to the Perfect Pup Podcast, everybody. We are happy that you are joining us today. Excited to talk with you about today's topic. First of all, sorry for a little bit of lighting issues. We're in a little bit different location today, but we'll get back to normal quickly here on the next one. Today, we're going to be talking about how to know when your dog has truly perfected or really ingrained a specific behavior. So yeah, we're going to look at the steps to getting to that point, how you can test that type of behavior, how you can know when they've actually got there, and how you can feel confident about allowing them a little bit more freedom once they've nailed those behaviors.
Yep, we are excited to talk about that. And for today's pup dates, you've maybe seen this. It's been going around on social media, been a pretty popular article, but it's phenomenal. So a dog named Duchess, little small dog, was lost 12 years ago. 12 years ago in Florida. The dog slipped out the front door and ran away, and they didn't know where it went. They figured it was lost, but the pup parent, she continued to pay for the yearly charge or whatever it is for the microchipping, and updating their contact information every time they moved. And 12 years later, the dog was found in Pittsburgh, and it was obviously in pretty rough shape, but they were able to identify the dog via the microchip and get it reunited with its pup parent 12 years later.
Do they have any idea how Duchess got there?
That's far.
That's
far. Not
and
a state or
was
two.
Was that dog just living on the streets and
just living
catching
the street
straps?
life?
Or did somebody pick it up and take it part of the way? Or did they find it on the streets in Philadelphia?
Yeah, it was found
Pittsburgh or wherever?
Pittsburgh, yeah. It was found under a shed.
That is insane.
In the middle, it was cold and it was in pretty rough shape, so it looked like it hadn't been living with someone.
Yeah.
But you do wonder, and that's what one of the article talks about. We'll link it in the episode notes, but you wonder, man, if that dog could talk.
Oh, yeah.
That dog would have a story to tell.
Stories she'd tell.
But hats off to the pup parent as well, the lady who continued to pay, continued to update her contact information. Yeah. That's dedication. Because, in most people, I'm sure the stats are crazy, after X amount of days, the percentage of dogs that do come back.
Unlikely.
So super hot. That's just a crazy story.
Yeah.
So awesome. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's great. They found her though. 12 years. That's a long time.
And imagine that reunion. It'd be I wonder if the dog is wait, who are you?
Yeah. I wonder how well it remembered them. That is awesome.
I'm sure the dog was.
There's got a picture of her there, kind of giving Duchess a smooch, and Duchess is where you been, man?
Why'd you leave me out?
I know.
Toy Fox Terrier. So just a little guy too.
Teeny.
Traveled over 1,600 kilometers.
Show him that little guy.
Look at this little guy.
Yeah, little thing.
And we'll have the link in the episode notes as well. You can check out this article. But
nice work, dude. Duchess. Hope you're getting spoiled rotten now. Right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure. That dog's living the dream now. Eating steaks every night or something.
Better be.
So that was the pup dates. Let's roll into today's topic. So this is one that Mike and I talk about this a lot. So a lot of you are probably in the 30-Day Perfect Pup community that we have on Facebook, where, a lot of people, we have over 20,000 people in there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people asking questions, a lot of people saying, hey, this happened, what do I do? And one that we stumble into a lot, we see so many different people asking is, does my dog actually understand this behavior? Or in most cases, they're saying, my dog totally knows how to do this. Why is he not responding? Or, my dog is usually really good at this. Why is he being stubborn, quote unquote? And that's kind of unfortunately, this pattern that we see a lot with people.
Oh, a ton, yeah.
And I think we're all guilty of it in one extent or the other, where we say, okay, we practice, for example, recall inside the house. And, we practiced it for a while and the dog's getting it 7, 8 out of 10 times. And we think, okay, my dog knows recall. And then you go to a park or something.
Or you go in the backyard and they go to the bathroom. You're like, hey, come on.
Yeah, you call
Fido, and they won't come.
They don't come. And then instantly you think, oh, why is my dog being stubborn? They know how to come when called. They have a good recall. And so we're going to talk about how to avoid that trap, because I think it is a trap in reality, right? It's you put yourself into this false sense of like, my dog does understand, I can give them freedom. So we're going to talk about how to avoid that, how to make sure that your dog truly understands behavior.
Yeah, and all dogs learn at different rates.
Right.
Some learn faster than others. But in reality, the vast majority of the time, it's probably going to take you longer than you think to train your dog to understand behavior.
Yep.
If your dog is only 6 or 7 months old, I would say it's highly unlikely that they are nailing any behavior.
Yeah, it takes time.
It takes time. Yeah,
because it's all a repetition game, right? It's kind of a numbers game. Well,
and maturity
as well. Yeah, and I mean, there's not, kind of like Mike was saying, every dog learns at a different pace. So there's not a 100 repetitions is going to get you perfection or whatever at a specific behavior or task, but it does just take repetition. Like that's the nature of reinforcement learning, where there has to be enough reinforcement and enough instances where I did this, I got a reward, this is good, for it to become ingrained and like for sure, like a sure thing with your dog. Yeah.
So how do you know? How do you know if your dog's nailing a behavior?
How do you know? So it's a good question. I don't know if there's a specific answer, right? Because just like what I was saying, it's, every dog learns differently, but your dog should do it 95% plus.
Yeah, that's a good
to
number.
say that it's like, and that's even, I said 95%. I didn't say 90 because I don't want you to think 9 out of 10 times, right?
Yeah.
Because even 9 out of 10, like that one instance where they don't do it, maybe they don't understand it completely enough. But let's talk about like, when we talk about complete, so most people, they want to say like, my dog has a perfect recall, right? Like wherever, whenever, no matter the distraction. That would be a quote unquote complete understanding, right? Like where your dog is 100 yards away, running around with 50 other dogs, and you can call them back and they come back to you. Like that would be a quote unquote like
complete recall,
right? But the mistake that I think we make a lot as pup parents is we say, we forget that that's the end goal, but there's so many steps in between. There's levels in between to get there. That's like one thought, is remembering the levels of it, because, well, let's talk about how to get there maybe.
Okay.
Versus like knowing, because I think, Yeah,
and I think the basics of how to get there is the same thing that we talk about all the time. A lot of it is controlling the environment.
For sure.
So you need to start out by controlling or creating the environment, right? So you need to start by getting them to nail the behavior in their home.
Yep.
Once you're nailing it in your home.
With no distractions.
Yeah. Once you're nailing it in the home, add some distractions. Once they're good at that.
And by nailing it, we're saying 95% plus inside the home with no distractions before you move on to anything else.
Yeah.
In this recall example.
Yeah, so they've got to be really good at that. And then you're stepping up difficulty after that. So go to the backyard, see if it works there. Go to the driveway after they're good at that. See if it works there. Yeah. You're adding distractions. You're adding different difficulties to them and seeing if they can do it then. And then at that point, you start to move to places like the park. So the way to get there is you start easy, you get them to nail it, you go a little harder and a little harder and a little harder. And you have to baby step them into being able to nail it in the really difficult environments.
Yeah, for sure. And one point to add to that is that, you need to be able to recognize like, okay, maybe I'm asking too much of my dog, because I think a lot of people, they have the right intentions and they start that way where they say, okay, I'm going to get really good inside the house, and then I'm going to go outside and their dog doesn't get it, and they instantly get frustrated and they think, well, what do I do now? Like they get it inside, but they don't understand it in the backyard at all. Like sometimes you have to find that like even like the level in between those two levels, right? Yeah. Like taking it as small as you can and recognizing, okay, they can't handle it in the backyard. Like, let's try maybe in the house with distractions or something like that. You know what I mean? Like finding those different levels of difficulty and just, I think, a lot of people talk about it, that a trait of like a good trainer, because all of us pup parents are in essence trainers, right? We're training our dogs, is knowing when to take a step back, knowing when to say, okay, I'm asking too much of my dog. Let's make it a little bit easier, get some victories, get some quick wins back with our dog, and then step it up again. So taking those incremental steps, big part of it. Yep. One other thought that, we had talked about before is, and I'm going to keep going on the recall example because it's an easy example and it's a tough one for a lot of people, is part of making sure your dog fully understands is making sure that you avoid as many situations as possible in which your dog doesn't have to basically do what you're asking of them and get away with it. Yeah. So what I mean by that, right, is like if you're working on recall and you're like, okay, my dog's ready to be working on this outside, you can't just let them run free and expect them to come back. And because if, every time that you ask them to come to you and they don't, it's like you're taking a step backwards in it. Not in like a taking a step back. It's Yeah,
especially if running away from you gets them some type of reward.
Exactly.
If they're running away from you to go
chase something
or meet someone new without you approving or anything like that, they're getting rewarded every time. Yep. And it totally enables that behavior.
Yep. And then you're just fighting against, you're not only trying to build a good behavior, but now you have to break a bad behavior.
Yeah.
And so that's where tools like a 30-foot long lead, or, they make even longer ones. That's where it's so important is it's not just, hey, I'm working on a training session, I'm going to use a 30-foot lead. In a lot of cases, it's, okay, we're going to go to this park. My dog's getting pretty good at recall, but I don't want to give them full freedom off of a leash per se. So let's do the 30 feet. So then just in case they do see something that's enticing, they want to run off, you're in control. Your dog can't get more than 30 feet away from you if you have the leash in your hand and they're secured on the other end as well. So it's a safety tool in the sense of like actually keeping your dog safe, but also, making sure that you are protecting your dog from having these bad situations happen where they don't have to listen, they regress in their learning, they get reinforced, like Mike was saying, by other things. So using those types of tools is super important.
In essence, give them every opportunity to win.
Yeah.
Do everything you can to ensure that they win. And if you do that, they're going to ingrain behaviors better.
Yeah. And one maybe final thought, one kind of final topic is just remembering that we were talking about this the other day. Even when you think your dog is like 95% in a certain environment, you need to take into account your mood and their mood. And that's where like we talk, like it's called proofing, right? Of it's not just, okay, my dog's good at recall, let's try it at this park with this distraction or X, Y, and Z different distraction. But oftentimes it's just doing it on so many different days. And, when your dog might be feeling a little bit different or might be more distracted or less distracted or your mood might be different. It's just taking that those extra steps in like saying, I'm going to practice this behavior in as many situations, as many environments, as many distractions, and over many days so that that your dog is experiencing it in any way that, like, they're going to experience it in all types of moods and in all types of like mindsets. That's like the next step above, we always talk about train in new environments, train with new distractions, but taking it that next step above and like doing it so much that it's like you're hitting all the different moods that your dog might be in and making sure they really get it. Yeah,
because they'll have different moods. They'll feel more excited. They'll feel more bummed. They'll, may have something that's bothering them a little bit.
Right.
That will cause them to react a little differently. So,
right.
Totally.
Any other thoughts on, does your dog fully understand the behavior?
No, I don't think so. I think that the key to all that, though, is just practice.
Proof it as much as you can.
Yep,
new environments, new distractions. And one final thought.
Second one final thought.
Don't give your dog too much freedom. It goes back to what we talked about earlier, but like the second you give your dog too much freedom, that's when bad things happen. And you start to think, oh, my dog's being stubborn, but they might just not understand.
Yep.
That's okay.
100%.
Thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for watching.
New word.
Listening.
We come up with a new word every time we do a podcast.
We came up with
fantastic.
What was it?
ROS. It's
new operating system, and then watching, which is watching and listening. So thanks for watching this episode.
Yep.
If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment. We love to hear from you guys.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.
See you guys.